Hi, my name is Meg Magrath-Smith, and I'm the Ward 7 City Councilor, and I'm joined by Victoria Houle, who has been consulting for us as an interim engineer, and now is still consulting for us, thankfully. And she's been doing a lot of the work on the sewer separation project that's starting April 1st, so we wanted to spend some time just answering some questions and going over the basics of the project. So to start with, thank you for joining today. And thank you to Johan and everyone else at Holyoke Media for helping us do this so that we could get out information around who's going to be impacted, how people are going to be impacted, and what's going to be the outcome of this work. Would you start by just explaining what type of work is going to be done?
Okay, so this is the River Terrace sewer separation. We'll call it Area 21A or Phase A project. The work will include, really the primary goal is to separate the combined sewer system in that area.
Does that mean that in the streets that are impacted, people will be getting new sewer and water lines?
So in the areas that are impacted, what they'll be doing is a combined sewer system collects rainwater, domestic sewage, and then in some cases, not in this area, industrial wastewater. That has the potential to then overflow during wet weather to the nearby water body, and
we know that's been happening,
right?
That we've been having issues. If you're signed up for the alerts, like I know I am, you're getting the CSO alerts that say that every time it rains, a certain amount of combined water and sewage is being discharged into the Connecticut River. So as a result of the fact that that is now being monitored, and unfortunately, as a result of that, the city was sued. And we were told, you have to fix this work. You have to do the separation that you need to complete in order to make sure that this is not being discharged into the river any longer. And the city has been slowly doing that, like back to the 70s, right? This has been a long process, but that's also because this work is really expensive. This project is $10.5 million the city is bonding for, plus $2 million that the EPA is putting forward as well. So it is expensive to do this work, and this is one phase among many. So there will be other phases later on in order to keep doing this work and complete all of it throughout the city over time.
Yeah. So River Terrace, there's also a Phase B. So there's actually two sort of sub areas that make this up too. So people in the area they'll be separating the domestic wastewater from the stormwater. So they'll have new sewer lines, new sewer laterals, and then that will result in the idea that like less water is going to be directed to the wastewater treatment plant, because the wastewater treatment plant won't have to treat unnecessary stormwater, and then it will also help eliminate the potential for the discharges to the Connecticut River. In some select areas, there's also some water line replacement work, and that is just to take advantage of the fact that we're going to be cutting up the roads at this time.
Okay, so all of the roads in Phase A will have their sewer pipe replaced, and some of the sections of streets will also have water main replaced.
Correct.
Okay, can you name which streets are going to be impacted in Phase A?
Okay, so Phase A includes Hampton Knolls Road, Jefferson Street, Vadnais Street, George Street, Liberty Street, Woodbine Lane, Hillview Road, Meadowview Road, a section of Northampton Street, and the very beginning of Bemis, right before it gets to that turn where you get to Hillview, Meadowview.
Okay, so really a very small section of Bemis.
A very small section of Bemis.
And then what does that mean in terms of Phase A, in terms of timeline?
So Phase A is the work that's being done right now, which that alone will be over 2 construction seasons. I think what most people will see is we're saying starting April 1st. You might not see people till the end of April. That's sort of like when the contractor's time starts. They will see sort of excavation in their streets. They may see door hangers about a periodic interruption in service. And the contractor will probably do the majority of that, like excavating, digging work, in 2025. In 2026, they'll have to maybe finish anything they didn't do excavation-wise. 2026 will be milling and paving the streets, fixing the pavement, restoring the side areas, and then doing anything that has for lining of any of the pipes. And the lining is just done by like opening a manhole. So there won't be any more digging at that point.
Okay. And so that means that most of the excavation, digging, the actual replacement of pipes will be 2025. And then in 2026, folks will see like all roads are closed and they're like milling and paving those roads.
Yes, I don't think the road will be closed, but in 2026 it'll be more like fixing the pavement, and you won't necessarily have the same disruption, I think, in 2026, other than obviously when they're paving your road, but.
Okay, but I think that most people will be excited to see their road being paved. And there's a lot of roads in Ward 7 that need to be paved and haven't been paved because we have a policy, which makes sense. I think the taxpayer can understand that there's a policy that if you know a road is going to be majorly impacted through construction work within 5 years, it will not be fully milled and repaved. Unfortunately for our ward, a lot of our roads are impacted by these sewer separation phases, and so we haven't been seeing them be paved as a result. There's been a lot of the roads are disintegrating and we're trying to patch them to keep them going while we're waiting for these phases to occur. So what roads will be in Part B? Do we know that yet?
So I do have the streets that are in Phase B. Phase B is sort of not part of this construction contract, right? So that Phase B is at the 60% design level. So that is something that is coming in the next, say, 4 years, you know what I mean? And I think people definitely know about it, but it's just, I just want to make it clear that it's sort of a separate construction contract, right? But it is the next initiative in sewer separation projects that the city will be taking on, right? That includes River Terrace, Wyckoff, Montgomery, Mountain View, Briarwood, Steiger, Central Park, and then sort of a little bit more northern section of Northampton Street.
Okay. So those roads, they may not be impacted right away, but in a few years, the same process will happen there.
Yes.
Okay. Is there anything else that you think the public should know about the project or about how they might be impacted by it?
I think that one thing that I want to put out there is that we are going to try to use the Holyoke's DPW Facebook page to put out reminders of sort of the general areas we're expecting the contractor to be in. So I can't dictate that maybe they may not show up that day or they're going to cancel because of rain, but we could say, hey, in the next 2 weeks we think they're going to be on these sort of streets. There's also they can't put stuff in your mailbox. So if all of a sudden they're going to be doing something and they're going to have to connect something and there's going to be a temporary shut off to your service, they're going to hang a door hanger, but probably on like your front door, but you might not use your front door unless you saw Amazon delivering to your front door. So just to pay attention to when, if you see them in the street, know that that's the time to check your door, to also follow the Facebook page if you can, or share that too with the people that you don't know and your neighbors. And then also to just share even my contact information in terms of if you have any questions. I may not be able to answer it immediately, but I will find you an answer. You know what I mean? So I think that's what to watch out for.
Well, I appreciate that. And I know that you're working on a one-pager too that has a map that shows which streets are being impacted and which sections of streets, because an entire street may not be impacted. It might be a section of a street. I know that's definitely true in the case of Bemis. So that will be available online. And if folks would like copies of that, just let us know. I'm happy to bring one to you. Okay. If you have any questions moving forward or concerns, please don't hesitate to reach out to myself. I'm your Ward 7 Councilor, Meg Magrath-Smith, or to Victoria Houle, who's the engineer taking lead on this project. We really appreciate your patience with this process, and hopefully the outcome is going to be worth the temporary interruption to our lives, which is very real, but also the work is worthy and needs to be done.